3, come in. We have movement, north clearing. The radio crackled with panic. Another voice followed, sharper, desperate. It's him. He's too close. Get someone out here now. The African bush was heavy with silence, the kind that feels wrong. Golden light from the dying sun painted the tall grass in eerie shadows, but beneath that calm, something was stirring. Rangers sprinted through the dust, boots pounding, hearts racing. Their breaths came in short gasps, cutting through the still evening air. Keep your eyes up, one whispered, gripping his rifle tighter. He's out here somewhere. Then they saw it, a camera bag, crumpled on the ground, fresh footprints, and then nothing. Marc Lautenbach had been here just moments ago. The man who believed elephants were gentle giants. The man who spent months earning their trust. But now he was the one being hunted. A low rumble rolled across the clearing. It wasn't just sound, it was vibration. It traveled through the ground, through their bones. One ranger froze. "Oh no," he muttered. "It's him." From the trees, the bull elephant emerged. Massive, silent, deadly. His name was Kivuli, 6 tons of muscle and memory. His ears spread wide like warning flags. His trunk curled, tasting the air. Marc stood just meters away, frozen. His camera hung from his neck, his hands trembling. "It's me, Kivuli." "It's Marc," he whispered, voice thin with disbelief. But Kivuli wasn't calm. His eyes burned with something ancient. Elephants in muss, an aggressive hormonal state, lose the calm humans think they know. Instinct drowns out familiarity. "Back away! Marc, back away now!" a ranger shouted, his voice breaking. Kivuli stomped. The ground shook violently. Birds erupted from the trees in a flurry. Then the sound came, the bone-chilling trumpet that signals a charge. Dust exploded as Kivuli lunged forward. A gray wall of fury. Marc stumbled back, panic on his face. "No! No, stay back!" The rangers froze. They couldn't shoot, not yet. It would only provoke him further. "Hold your fire," the lead ranger barked. But the bull was unstoppable. In seconds he closed the gap, tusks lowered, head lowered, momentum like an avalanche. Marc dropped his camera. His last words were a broken whisper. "I trusted you." The impact shook the earth. The scream was swallowed by the chaos. When the dust settled, silence returned. Only the deep, heavy breathing of the elephant remained. Kivuli stood over the wreckage of trust, ears still flared, trunk curling as if confused by what had just happened. The radio cracked again, faint, trembling. We're too late." But this wasn't the full story. To understand why Kivuli turned, why a bond shattered in seconds, we have to step back to calm mornings and quiet trust, to the friendship that blinded a man to the storm inside a giant. Because before the rage crushed Marc's final breath, there was friendship and a love so deep it ignored the warning signs. Marc's laugh carried softly through the early morning air. "Easy there, little one," he whispered, as a young elephant calf curled its trunk around his arm. The calf's eyes blinked slowly, trusting, leaning into his gentle touch. He had left everything for this. A high-paying corporate job, city life, comfort, all traded for the red dust and wild heartbeat of Africa. His friends called him crazy, but Marc believed he had found his true calling. "People think they're dangerous," he once told a fellow volunteer. "But they're not. They're misunderstood." The reserve was his sanctuary, a place where he felt alive. At sunrise, Marc would walk the trails with his camera slung across his shoulder, documenting the lives of the giants he adored. His favorite was Kivuli, a massive bull rescued years ago from poachers. Kivuli's tusks bore faint scars, reminders of human cruelty. Marc treated him like an old friend. He would approach slowly, murmuring in a low tone. "You're safe now," he'd say, brushing the dry dust from Kivuli's tusks. The elephant would rumble softly, a sound like distant thunder, and lower his head to meet Marc's gaze. But not everyone shared Marc's faith. One morning, as Marc gently scratched the base of Kivuli's ear, a ranger named Elias watched from a distance. "Marc," he called, his voice uneasy. "You shouldn't get that close. He's a bull. They can change without warning." Marc turned and smiled, calm and certain. "He knows me. He wouldn't hurt me." Still, there were subtle signs, tiny warnings whispered by instinct. Kivuli's ears would sometimes flare wider than usual. A low vibration would pass through his chest, barely audible but enough to make other elephants keep their distance. "Did you see that?" Elias murmured to another ranger. "Yeah," came the reply. He's starting to show tension, but Marc ignored it. He believed that trust, once earned, could never be broken. He spent hours with Kivuli, sitting quietly beside him as the elephant grazed. Flashbacks showed Marc's journey, how he'd stood in a crowded boardroom years ago, staring at spreadsheets and feeling hollow inside. He quit without warning, telling his shocked boss, "I want to do something that matters. I want to save something bigger than myself." And he had. He'd saved elephants from snares, photographed their beauty to raise awareness, taught visitors about their intelligence. Yet even intelligence cannot erase instinct. Kivuli had begun entering mus, a natural hormonal surge that made bull elephants unpredictable, highly aggressive, and hyper-territorial. Marc noticed the dark streaks on the sides of Kivuli's head, but brushed them off. Elias approached him again one evening. "Marc, listen to me. He's in mus. It's dangerous to be near him now." Marc just shook his head, patting the elephant's trunk gently. "He's fine. He trusts me." The rangers exchanged worried glances. "Trust won't stop nature," one whispered. Still, Marc's confidence never wavered. He saw Kivuli not as a wild animal, but as a soul who needed kindness. As the sun set behind the acacia trees, Marc stood beside Kivuli, silhouetted against the fading light. He whispered again, "You're not like they say. You're gentle. You're my friend." But the camera lingered on the elephant's eyes, deep, dark, unreadable. And for the briefest moment, Kivuli let out a low, trembling rumble, one that made even the nearby calves step back. Because even the kindest giant carries a storm inside, and Kivuli's was about to break loose. A loud crack echoed through the trees. Kivuli had snapped a thick branch as if it were paper. The sound sent a flock of birds bursting into the hot, heavy air. Marc lowered his camera for a moment, just staring at the giant bull. His temples were streaked with a dark, oily fluid. Must. The reserve was changing. The air was hotter, heavier. Mating season brought a restless energy, and even the calmest elephants grew tense. Kivuli paced back and forth, his massive body shifting with a power that was both mesmerizing and terrifying. From a distance, two rangers whispered urgently. "Look at him," Elias muttered. "He's in mus. It's starting." His partner nodded, unease in his voice. "We should warn Marc again. He won't listen." But Marc was already stepping closer, camera rolling. His voice was soft, almost soothing. "It's okay, Kivuli. I'm right here. You're safe." The villagers had been warning him too. An old man stopped him outside the reserve gates. Days earlier. "Stay back from that one," the man had said, his eyes serious. "When a bull loses himself to the season, he remembers only the law of the wild. No man can stand in its way." But Marc always replied the same way. "If you show them fear, they'll give it back. If you show them calm, they'll trust you." The truth was more complicated. Elephants were intelligent, deeply emotional creatures who mourned their dead and remembered kindness. But beneath that was something ancient, a survival instinct that no human bond could erase. Mus was not anger. It was biology, a flood of hormones making males hyper-aggressive and territorial. That afternoon, the tension in the air thickened. Kivuli stood in the clearing, his ears flaring wider than usual. He rumbled low, a vibration so deep it made the ground tremble faintly. Marc hesitated for just a second. Then, another sudden movement. Kivuli swung his trunk violently, smashing the branch he had been holding. The ground shook. Marc jumped slightly, but didn't retreat. Instead, he lifted the camera again, framing the shot. "This is it," Marc whispered to himself. "This is the soul of the wild." Elias approached cautiously. "Marc," he called, his tone sharp. "You need to step back. He's changing. He's not the same right now." Marc turned, his eyes calm but determined. "I've spent months earning his trust. I can't stop now. This is the closest I've ever been to capturing who they really are." Elias stepped closer, voice lowering. "You don't understand. Mus makes him unpredictable. It's not him anymore, it's nature taking over. You're risking your life." But Marc only smiled faintly, almost wistfully. "He's still Kivuli. He knows me." That evening, the signs grew stronger. Kivuli shoved a smaller bull away with violent force. Dust filled the air as his massive feet stomped the dry earth. Nearby elephants kept their distance, sensing the storm inside him. Marc filmed it all. His lens captured the way Kivuli's eyes seemed darker now, harder to read. Still, Marc whispered, "You're not like the others say. You're more than instinct. But nature didn't care about words. As the sun dropped below the horizon, Elias tried one last time. Marc, I'm begging you. Stay away tomorrow. Give him space. You don't know what will happen. Marc shook his head, lifting his camera bag over his shoulder. Tomorrow might be the most important shot I'll ever take. He didn't see the flicker in Kivali's eyes, the tiny, unreadable shift that even other elephants respected. The next morning, the calm would shatter, replaced by a thunder of feet and a final, bone-crushing silence. Marc, step back, Elias shouted, his voice cracking with fear. But Marc didn't move. He stood in the clearing, camera raised, the red dust swirling gently around his boots. From the bush came a shadow that grew larger with every step. Kivali emerged, his massive frame blocking the sun. His tusks glinted, his ears spread wide. For a brief, silent second, he just stared. Then came the rumble. Low, deep, a sound you felt in your chest more than in your ears. The ground trembled. Small stones shifted. Even the air seemed heavier. Marc whispered, his voice soft and trembling. Easy, boy. It's me. It's Marc. But Kivali's eyes were no longer calm. They were dark, unreadable, driven by something ancient. His trunk curled, coiling like a striking snake. A sharp, high trumpet split the silence. And then he charged. The earth shook with every step, each one faster, heavier. Dust exploded into the air, blinding. Marc tried to step back, panic finally flashing across his face. No, Kivali, stop. It was too late. One crushing blow from Kivali's massive head sent Marc sprawling to the ground. His camera hit first, shattering, then his body followed. Before he could even cry out, 6 tons of unstoppable force loomed over him. Shoot in the air, Elias screamed. Rangers fired warning shots, the sound echoing across the clearing. But Kivali didn't stop, not yet. The giant bull pressed down, the impact muffled by dust. A sickening silence followed, broken only by the ragged, fading breaths of a man who had loved too deeply. Finally, Kivali paused. He raised his head, trunk swinging, confused by the noise of the gunfire. For a moment, his ears folded slightly, the tension breaking. With a final, thunderous stomp, he turned away and disappeared into the bush. What was left behind was quiet. Too quiet. Elias knelt beside Marc, his voice trembling. Stay with me, Marc. Please, stay with me. But Marc's eyes were unfocused, his breath shallow, slipping away. The camera lay broken, a silent witness to the final moment. The narrator's voice softens. Even the most trusted wild animal cannot be tamed. Not truly. Kivali wasn't evil. He wasn't a monster. He was what he always was, wild, following instincts, older than human memory. Marc had believed love was enough. But in the wild, love cannot erase nature. Closing reflection. Marc's life became a warning and a reminder. Love for wildlife must always be paired with respect for their wildness, because the line between beauty and danger is thinner than we think. He thought trust could tame the wild. He believed love was stronger than instinct. But in one terrifying moment, 6 tons of power proved otherwise. This is the haunting true story of Marc Lautenbach, the man who loved an elephant and lost his life beneath it.